But Jesus was all about some hell. So I'm just confused as to what exactly your religious stance is. It doesn't really seem very consistent. It seems like you're kind of really, we all cherry pick, of course, but it seems like you're really cherry picking. It seems like you're just choosing the parts you like, and just whatever leads to the conclusion that there's a God, you just take all that, and whatever you don't like, you just whitewash over it. And that's fine. I mean, we all do that, but maybe you'll own up to it. You seem like you're a little bit more honest about your position than most Christians, so I just like to have an explanation as to how you can hold so many contrary ideas. I mean, the Bible. You think that the Bible is somewhat accurate, but not completely, so you must just pick and choose. You must pick and choose, oh, well, this sounds accurate, and this doesn't. Oh, I don't like hell, because I might go there, so I don't believe in that, and there's only heaven, and that doesn't make any sense. I mean, it just doesn't, what's the point of being saved if there's only a heaven? There has to be a hell, because that's the counterbalance. I mean, the only alternative is non-existence or heaven. And now let's get to your more important point, the more important point about human nature and the kind of bestial human nature, like we're gonna club each other to death and fucking drown children in their own blood and stuff like that, and the more altruistic nature, like where we give a bunch of money to tsunami victims or build homeless shelters and stuff like that. The thing is that you talk about the rats, first of all. Well, let's talk about compassion in animals, first of all, because you talk about these rats that eat their own children and stuff. I mean, plenty of animals do that. I mean, that's not a rat being... that's not something exclusive to rats. Plenty of animals eat their own children. Praying mantises will eat their own children. I think certain breeds of spiders will. It even goes up to mammals. I mean, I know the gorillas do not eat their own children, but there are cases of females that are high in the social hierarchy eating the children of females that are low in the social hierarchy. So I mean, that happens, even very close to where we appear on the evolutionary charts. And there are even a lot of things. This might just be propaganda, but even if it is, you have to wonder why we thought of this specific thing. But there was a lot of rumors and conjecture about in the Soviet Union and stuff, when everyone was starving and hungry and a lot of places were totally impoverished. There's a lot of stories that came out about people either killing and eating their own children or selling their children to butchers and stuff like that, and a lot of butcher shops rounding up orphans and runaways and butchering them and serving them to the populace. And there's at least one documented case of someone doing that. If you look up serial killers, I believe there is some Russian butcher that used to do that. But it was believed to be more widespread than just him. And once again, maybe just propaganda, but you have to wonder why, if that's propaganda, why did we come up with that particular thing? Unless it wasn't just a little bit hardwired into our nature. That's why are we different than animals? I don't know that we are that different for the most part. I mean, when one of our dogs died, our other dogs mourned that dog's passing. They acted differently. They howled and cried and moaned and stuff like that. If elephants come across the corpse of a dead elephant, they will all pay their sort of respects by, moving their snouts over the corpse and stuff. And I think some elephants even bury their dead. So it seems to me like there are rituals of mourning, or what may appear to be mourning to us, maybe something entirely different. But it does seem like there is a concern for the dead. You talk about Rwanda, about how the whole world was watching that, and how no one did anything because there was no social or economic gain in doing so. But you have to realize too that if we decided to interfere whenever we saw some kind of tyranny like that going on, it might be very harmful to us. I mean, if you just look at the toll that this war in Iraq is costing us, which isn't really a humanitarian mission, everyone knows that, but it is probably the equivalent of what most of the humanitarian missions would entail. It's going into a society and trying to make it more like ours, trying to force civility on them. And we're seeing that doesn't work. we're seeing that is hugely costly. It just throws money away, and some economists are estimating this war is going to cost, in the trillions, because over time, over the next 20 years or so, even if it ends today, because of just all the medical benefits for soldiers and some other stuff. There was a big article in Rolling Stone a few issues back where they explained the whole thing. I'm not going to get into it, but you could probably read it online, or I'm sure that plenty of bloggers have stolen and paraphrased it as their own, so you can go read those. And you see how costly these humanitarian missions are, and you kind of realize that if we were that altruistic, I mean, it's like you might be. Let's bring it down to the microcosmic level. Let's say that you're my neighbor, and I got a family and you got a family, and you lose your job and your family starts going hungry. So I say, okay, well, our family is going to help you out, and we bring you some food, and we bring you some stuff, and I help you try to find a job and stuff like that. And that's fine. I can take on that burden because I'm still got my job and I've got a little surplus, so it's okay to help you out. Now let's say that our other neighbor on the other side of me loses his job. Now, if I try to help him out, then I'm really reaching into my own pockets. I'm taking food out of my children's mouths and giving it to him, and I can't do that. So that's kind of the way that goes. I mean, sure, there's some altruism built into humanity, but it doesn't extend to the point of sacrificing things of our own, at least not in most of us. Some people would do that, and I'd argue that those people are actually immoral because they care more about others than they do about their own. I mean, it just doesn't seem right. It seems very communistic, and eventually you get to the point where everything is so thinly spread out that no one is happy, and no one is prospering. Everyone is just surviving. And I don't know if that is the kind of world that I want to live in. But that's just me. You go back, then you kind of counter-argue that point by talking about Black Hawk Down, where the soldiers went back to claim their dead. And this kind of goes back to animals mourning their dead. I think that there's kind of a component in human beings where we don't fully grasp death. I don't think that we fully understand. I mean, it's kind of... Because once someone is dead, their body is meaningless. It's just a shell. It's like a casing. It's like it means nothing anymore. And no longer, they're not in there anymore. The person that you loved is not that flesh and blood. It's the person that's in here, in this mind. And that mind is dead. But we still kind of associate them with that form. And that's why we treat their bodies with such reverence, why we bury them, why we cremate them, why we have open casket funerals where we say goodbye to them. So we kind of turn the person into the flesh and blood when they're not. So I think those guys who went back for their fallen brethren probably did so because they kind of felt like they were leaving their friends behind, which is totally irrational, as you said. But you seem to think of it as like a positive irrationality, whereas I see it as a very negative one. I think we need to realize that the body is meaningless. I mean, I don't want people to be attached to my dead, lifeless corpse after my life has fled it. And that's how I feel. And I'm sure you have some refutations, and I did ask for some clarifications. So I hope I hear from you again, and I hope that this video has proven to many of my detractors that I can be totally respectful when I want to be, and when a person is deserving of my respect. So anyway, thank you very much again, and I hope you keep posting videos. I hope that your first was not your last, and I'd like to hear your ideas and some other stuff. If you do plan on keep making videos, be sure to tell me, because I will subscribe and hopefully have a few more arguments with you. Peace the fuck.